A disappointing end to what was a successful 4-2 homestand for the Cubbies, but more importantly, the most important thing that happened today may have happened off the field before baseball was played. But we'll get in that a whole lot more on the Setup Man postgame show right now. Welcome into this brand new edition of the Setup Man postgame show. I am Alex, along with the Podfather himself, Kyle Stanley, back for more. And after a abysmal performance in the game today, but you, if you haven't already, if you're listening, thank you. Make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Make sure to comment. Obviously, there's probably opinions today. It was kind of a boring game, but we'll get into that in just a second. But make sure you are hitting that like button, subscribe, hit that little bell so you get all of our stuff here on the Setup Man Network. And then later in the show, final segment, if you're new to the proceedings, we have a segment where you, the fan, can call in and give your opinions in 30 seconds or less, and then we will react and talk about those. But a chance to give your opinions on a platform. And after a game like today, maybe you have some stronger opinions that you want to get off your chest. But that will be in segment 3. Okay, Kyle. Well, not exactly the finale that any of us hoped. It was a boring game. Do you have any big takeaways? For me, it wasn't that much.
Well, but before we go into that, I do want to make sure everyone knows, and we want to keep on talking about this before we jump into the game. You guys have come to know my content. You've come to know the Setup Man. We want to continue to bring you these post-game shows, but I've got a lot of other stuff I want to bring you guys as well. The breakdowns, the interviews, and my goal, as we brought in Alex, we brought in Ty, we brought in a lot of other guys on the show, is to bring you the best Cubs content in the space. And in order to do that, I'm only one man. So I'm going to be taking a back seat in the middle of April here to these post-game shows. Alex and Ty and Sean will be leading the charge on these. And so that will allow me to go and do more breakdowns. There wasn't much to break down today, Alex, aside from the fact the show didn't look very good, which is pretty rare to say. But we want to keep bringing you the best Cubs content for that reason. I've got to do other things while Alex kills it as the host for the Setup Man pod and post-game show. So, I mean, man, it's just one of those games that, like, you just got to have a crappy game every once in a while. Like I'll be the shining light here. Shota only threw 76 pitches, so he'll be just fine for his next start. Cubs won't have to back him up or anything. The biggest thing for me, though, is I just didn't like the approach. I thought the approach was really poor. And we'll talk about that more in a little bit. I think at the end of the day, though, 9-6, 4-2 homestand. You've won 3 series in a row. Did you have a chance to completely shove these guys into the ground, be it the Padres or the Rangers? Yeah, you did, but 4-2 homestand against 2 really stinking good teams, I'll take it, man.
For sure. And I guess my question to you would be, the show, is there any concerns with Shota, or is it literally just one of those games? Because it's not like we haven't seen him have games like this where he just gets hit really hard. Yeah. But any real concern there?
Well, here's a fact for you might not know. Shota, that was his second worst start versus a first-time opponent in his MLB career. The worst was the Brewers, 4 1/3, 7 earned runs. But the Mets' bad start, that was his second start against the Mets last year. So this is his second worst ever start against a first-time opponent, and that concerns me a little bit, especially because last time, even though he was really good, he did labor. I did a breakdown on that, and the splitter wasn't quite there last time. The fastball, he got away with it for a few innings, but he had to add that sweeper back in. He had to add the curveball back in. And it just wasn't working for him today, man. I mean, I guess just every once in a while you have these games. I also remember back in the day in high school when I would play baseball games and you assume that the game is going to get rained out and then it doesn't. And you're just kind of showing up to the field and you kind of are mentally checked out. I just wonder if that's one of those moments that so much of the news was oh, Wednesday's probably going to get rained out. And maybe the Cubs just showed up kind of lackadaisical and thinking that this game was never going to be played, which is not an excuse by any means, but that's part of it. But the bigger concern to me Alex, is some of the offensive stats that I found. I don't know if you want to get into that now or if you
Absolutely. I was trying to figure out a runway to get there. So absolutely have at it.
So, guys, I did a little bit of research. And by the way, for those of you that are in the chat, please like, please comment, and also please share, because this is some important information that we're going to share right now. I shared on the live earlier today that it felt like the Cubs were off to a similar start as last year in terms of the kind of like triggers that I was hearing was, oh, they're making a lot of contact. They're walking more often. They're scoring more runs per game. This offense is really fun. I was hearing a lot of that in 2024. So I decided to take a look. We didn't make a fancy graphic or anything, but here's what I found out literally minutes before we went live. In 2024, the question here is, what happens when teams start throwing strikes? When other teams start throwing strikes against the Cubs, here's what happened last year. In 2024, the first 15 games, they were 9-6. Sound familiar, Alex?
That's where they're sitting today.
Last year, 5.5 runs per game. This year, 6 1/3. So a little bit better this year. Last year, 123 strikeouts through the first 15 games. This year, 117. So a 6 strikeout difference. We're basically in the same ballpark. This year, though, the walks, 76 walks versus 60 walks last year. So your strikeout to walk ratio is definitely better. Strikeout to walk ratio last year, 2-1. This year, basically 1.5-1. So that's significantly better. But what's important is what happened in the next 15 games and then the month that followed. In 2024, the next 15 games after that first 15, they pretty significantly dropped in a lot of areas. Now, the win-loss record was still a steady 9-6, but going from 5.5 runs down to 4.7 runs per game. They shot up in strikeouts, 123 strikeouts the first 15 games, 136 the second 15 games. And they shot down in walks, 60 walks in the first 15 to 48 walks in the second 15. So they went from a 2-1 K to strikeout or strikeout to walk ratio to a 2.8 strikeout to walk ratio. Basically adding 50% more strikeouts than walks is what we're looking at there. That's not good. And then what followed, we all remember, May sucked. 10-18, 3.5 runs per game, 249 strikeouts to 96 walks, which was a 2.6-1 strikeout to walk ratio. So why do I share all this? Well, today, Alex, the big thing to me was the Cubs were pitched to. Tyler Mahle, however you want to say his name, made his pitches. He did not dick around by trying to go off the plate and make them chase. The Cubs didn't have to chase. They swung at strikes. Aside from a few plate appearances, they weren't swinging out of the zone. They only struck out 5 times today, but they also only walked 1 time. But they only got 4 hits and 2 runs. And that's my concern, is what happens when this team faces a pitcher that says, okay, you guys have been walking a lot. I'll just throw you strikes. See what happens. And that's what Tyler Mahle did today. The Cubs and the Rangers threw almost the exact same number of pitches today, Alex. The Cubs threw 123. The Rangers threw 121. The Cubs had 4 hits. The Rangers had 11. The Cubs only struck out 5 times. The Rangers only struck out 7. And both teams walked once. So what happens? If this team, like the last couple years of teams, just gets to a pitcher that says, I'm going to throw balls in the strike zone and you have to prove to me that you can fight your way on base by getting hits, and this team does not come to the plate with that kind of approach, they just come with the approach of foul ball and then eventually working a walk, well, teams are eventually going to bring out guys that can pitch to that and say, too bad, I'm not going to walk you. Yeah. And they have to be willing to answer that call.
Yeah, and what you say, strike throwers give them problems. The first name that comes to mind is Wade Miley, a guy like that. Mm. Stuff's not overpowering, but that's a guy who historically has given the Cubs troubles. And today, I had to listen to it on the radio, unfortunately, that whole work thing that a lot of us have to do. So it sounded like it was a game plan that you described, of throwing a lot of strikes. So I do have a little bit of concern now, because now you're going to LA with a day off, travel day tomorrow, You're going to LA, you're facing Yamamoto. And I don't know who is pitching Saturday or Sunday. Sunday Night Baseball, too, by the way. That's a little extra special treat in Chavez Ravine.
Yeah.
But I guess my question to you is the Kyle Tucker part of this. I know he probably helps that, but that he can't be the whole equation, correct?
No, I mean, we've seen it in the past where, like, the Derek Lees and the Kosuke Fukudomes and that impact they have on lineups and the, like, I guess, contagiousness of it. I think Kyle Tucker creates that same kind of vibe where they didn't have that the last 2 years. So I do think it stabilizes it. Tucker today, what did he go for? He was 0 for 3 with a walk. He did have a good at bat in the first inning. He could have easily been called out on strikes, but it ended up being a walk. I saw an approach today from the Cubs that was okay. Balls were on the high fastballs that in the past few games have been fighting it off. The balls on the outer part of the strike zone, fouling it off. Today they were just lazily putting them in play, and that didn't really challenge Maile all that much. He looked like Max Scherzer. He looked like Jacob deGrom out there, the way that they were approaching it. And so it was unfortunate, but again, I look more at the bigger picture of all this and think to myself, okay, what happens when you bring in a guy and then the league starts to see, okay, all you got to do is throw these guys strikes.
Yeah. As you were talking, I'm also thinking too, this lineup is constructed. I mean, they've been trying to get this construction of this lineup built where it's less swing and miss. And I do feel like outside of PCA, who's swinging a ton, that's been well documented at this point. A lot, even Matt Shaw, he's taking his walks. Obviously, today it didn't really pan out, and there wasn't a whole lot of traffic until one of the best fake rallies we've seen. Like, not that they got close, but it's just like nothing the whole game. All of a sudden, oh, hey, look, we got another run. Hey, there's guys on base. It's just classic fake rally stuff. But I wonder how that's going to hold up, because this next week and a half is their toughest stretch of the month. This is a tough month already, but this next couple of weeks, it's LA, back to San Diego on the West Coast. You have it right here. Wonderful.
I have it.
Then they come back, they get the D-backs at home, the Dodgers again. I'm totally overseeing the Dodgers, and we haven't even played them a second time yet. The Phillies, and then your schedule lightens up a little bit at the end of the month, starting with the Pirates, and then we get into the Marlins and the White Sox and all that jazz as well. But yeah, I'm not overly concerned, because overall so far the approach has been better. But I understand what you're saying. It's bizarre that the numbers are so similar right away. Last April we were like, oh, this team, and now same numbers. It's like maybe some more cautious optimism after hearing those stats.
We'll see what happens. They've got to be able to bounce back, and so far this team has bounced back. So I'm looking forward to Friday.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one. All right, let's transition, because there was some big moments that happened in the game today, and also there was a big moment that happened off the field. But let's get into that with our segment, our one big moment. All right, so let's start with the on-field product. So Jonah Heim, let's start this over. The nominees for the big moment of the game, if there even was one. Jonah Heim hit a 2-run homer to break the 1-1 tie. Corey Seager had a pair of homers. And for the Cubs, Seiya and Michael Busch combined to score the Cubs' first run of the game. Ultimately, for me, that's an honorable mention, because that ultimately didn't matter. Kyle, it's the Jonah Heim homers, right? Or home run, right?
Yeah. So I don't think we did a great job of asking the fans yesterday. So let's make sure we know. Fans listeners, make sure you comment right now with which one was the biggest for you. Was it Jonah Heim home run? Was it the 2 home runs from Seager, or was it the Michael Busch and Seiya Suzuki one? I actually have a surprise fourth one for you.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's and I think it's a clear winner. It's the hot dog couple right there. It's got to be. I mean, that's my biggest moment of this game. No way that you don't see. I mean, that's like bases loaded, nobody out. You see that camera on you, and you know that you're watching. And she's like, I got my boyfriend next to me. I got a hot dog in hand. I know that camera's on me. It's time to step up to the plate and hit a grand slam. And she did it. So good for her.
Credit to her, because Marquis said that those two weren't even together. They had no idea who.
That was Boog. He was just messing around. But
Oh,
yes.
I took that as fact as I was prepping for the show. So apologies if that's incorrect. But yeah, it was the most entertaining part of the game. Even Pat and Ron on the radio when I was listening. I mean, I love Pat so much, but he sounded bored. Just okay, another fly ball, caught for 2 outs. That's just how the whole game kind of felt. It's like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna drive off the road because this is so boring.
Yeah, I mean, just like yesterday's game, where when the Cubs were up 6-3 and then they gave up the lead for it to become 6-6, how confident I was that that wasn't a big deal, that they were still going to win. It was kind of the opposite today of like, even though they tied it 1-1, it was just like, man, the approach just doesn't feel all that great today. Seiya had a really good at bat with the triple. Bush had the really good at bat. He was down 0-2. I want to talk about that for a second. He was down 0-2, and he took a really dirty changeup on 2-2 to make it 3-2, and eventually hit a single, which most likely in every other ballpark would have been a double if it didn't hit off the sidewall. I thought that was an incredibly mature at bat from Michael Bush. And while we were doing the live stream, I was actually ragging on the fact that I didn't like him being the fourth batter, and then he goes and hits a single and drives in the Cubs' first run. So I do think that this was one of those games that you're trying to look for any silver lining, and that was one of them. It's just that when the approach is so bad and every ball that's being put in play is not a hard hit ball, or it is a hard hit ball, and then Malley, like, even as a defender today, was really good. He stole a hit from PCA. He stole a hard hit ball from Tucker. There's just not much that went right for this team today, and you're going to have games like that.
And they were kind of due as well. But I want to transition into the off-field news of the day. If you have not heard, Justin Steele has been placed on the 15-day IL with elbow tendonitis. So what does that mean? We don't know. He's scheduled for an MRI, but according to Jesse Rogers, he felt discomfort in the middle of his last start, went on to pitch a couple more scoreless innings, but he felt it the next day. So, Kyle, reason to panic?
I don't think there's reason to panic at the moment. I think if you get back and you see the MRI, it's something to panic about. But I want to remind everyone, as everyone is panicking out there, that, and this was kind of like something I had to look up again. We were out of the race last year in September when Justin Steele actually went through this already. And I think it just went under the radar from a lot of people because of the fact that the Cubs were pretty much out of the race. And so no one was really paying attention. It was just like, okay, Justin Steele's on the IL, whatever, it's September. He was on the IL for the same left elbow tendonitis from September 1 till September, it was like 18, right around there, came back and made 2 more starts and looked fine. If you assume that it's the same injury and he comes back after 2 to 3 weeks and looks fine, then we're good. If you go and you Google what are symptoms of Tommy John surgery being needed, you'll be like, oh my God, Justin Steele is getting Tommy John surgery. Stiffness, reduced velocity, all that stuff. So I just want to wait for the MRI until I really react to this. What about you?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. And you mentioned it, the same thing last year. I know when I was a pitcher in high school, I had the same thing. And obviously, I'm nowhere near the athlete that he is and did not have the same amount of care that he has access to. But it was a couple weeks, and it's like, oh, okay, we're feeling better. I'm not overly panicked. The only reason that this sucks, other than, it's an elbow injury to your best pitcher, arguably, is the fact that now the depth is going to be tested right away. I'm going to assume it's going to be Colin Ray. As of, I believe, 2 hours ago, Craig Counsell said they didn't know what they were doing yet. Maybe Jordan Wicks. He had a good start in AAA. That makes some sense. But again, we talked about the other day, this would be the ideal Colin Ray moment. You're paying him, and this is kind of his job. Assad's not ready yet. So I'm not overly concerned. It just sucks that it's coming at this point in time with their toughest stretch the next, 14 days.
Yeah.
And you would really love to have your quote unquote ace. And without him, all right, I don't really love Colin Ray against the Dodgers, Phillies, D-backs. But that's where we are. Overall, I'm not overly concerned about his long-term health. He actually gave an interview where he said he, felt it, but he didn't seem overly concerned. So I'm not going to be overly concerned. But yeah, the MRI is going to tell a lot, I think.
Yeah, and here's the thing is I don't like Colin Ray being the depth piece right now, but Jordan Wicks has just looked okay in AAA so far. You don't really think about Chris Flexen being the guy, even though he's looked good so far in AAA. Javier Assad isn't ready to go, but I've got the schedule up, and let's just assume for a second. So I'm looking at Cubs.com. You got Boyd on Friday, you got Ben Brown on Saturday, TBD on Sunday, which probably means Jamison Tyone, which does put him on regular rest. And then Shota starting on Monday would also be not on Monday. Sorry. I'm missing someone. Who am I missing? Why am I missing?
Well, you bump. So it would be Steele's turn, right?
Steele would be out. I'm missing someone though. That's only 4 starters. Who's our 5th? I always hate when I have to do this.
I think you hit them all. Ben Brown, Tyone, Boyd, Shota.
Okay, I did. All right. So off day tomorrow. Sorry. I missed the off day. So then Shota on Monday would be regular rest for him because today is Wednesday. And then on Tuesday, that's the first time you have to think about, all right, am I against the Padres? Am I trying to rush someone? Does someone maybe Tyone has a bad start, or maybe Boyd has a bad start, or maybe Ben Brown has a bad start and they only pitch 40 pitches and then they're starting again on that Tuesday, or maybe it's a bullpen day, or maybe Colin Ray starts, or maybe there's a starter and then Colin Ray comes and piggybacks. I think that's the only day that you have to make a decision in the month of April, because then after that, on the 16th, you go right back to Boyd on regular rest. Then you have Thursday off, the 17th, and then you have 3 games and a day off. Then you have 2 games and a day off. And then another 3 games and a day off. So as long as this is a 2 or 3 week injury, we're good. We might have 1 game where we have to start Colin Ray or do a bullpen game. If there's any other additional beyond April, that's when you start to worry.
Well, as we're talking, Colin Ray hasn't really been stretched out yet. I mean, he's pitched 2 innings max. So I'm guessing, based on our conversation, unless they call someone up. But I also found it telling that they brought up Ethan Roberts today instead of, a Wicks or a Flexen or someone with starting experience. They brought in a reliever, which I think was telling. So maybe Tuesday is Colin Ray piggyback with Nate Pearson or some sort of combination like that. But yeah, overall, I guess I'm not too worried about it. But we are pushing up against the clock. So let us get to our setup sins here. But first, a word from our friends at Avia Shirts.
Setup Nation, I want to take a quick break so that you know how you can support our channel and wear some cool swag like this. We've teamed up with Avia Shirts to give you a chance to have your very own Setup Man shirt or hat. Pick from 3 different types of shirts, or my personal favorite, the trucker hat. Go to the link in the description of this video and podcast to claim your Setup Man apparel. And thank you so much for supporting our channel.
All right, time to get into the setup sins. So the nominees today: Tyler Mahle, his home run. Or I'm sorry, the number 1 sin was Tyler Mahle up 0-2 on Seiya and Michael Busch, which obviously led to the Cubs' first run and tying the game. Number 2, the Cubs just had a bad approach all day, as we had mentioned at the top of the show. And number 3, just a boring game. To me, that's the number 1 sin of today. They didn't make it competitive. It wasn't super interesting.
I don't even know if those are in any specific order, to be completely honest. I mean, it was just like, I think at the end of the day, this is one of those games the Rangers just outplayed the Cubs. There's not much more you can say about it. The Cubs didn't make any major mistake. There wasn't any major turning point in the game except for the Jonah Heim home run. Just a really poorly played game by the Cubs and a really well played game by the Rangers.
Yeah, they hit the ball harder. So, I mean, That's really what it came down to. I mean, there's not much else to say. So with that in mind, we're just going to open up the phone lines right away, and we're going to go to the callers in our new version of our call segment.
You suck! On your marks, get set, go!
Time for Thoughts in 30, where you, the fan, have the opportunity to call into the show and give your opinions in 30 seconds or less. And let's start with Break Even Tom joining the show. But his oh, there he is.
What's up, Will?
Up, guys?
Will, your time starts now.
Everybody take a breath and breathe. It's one game. Kyle said it best. We didn't really do anything wrong. We had a terrible approach to the play. We just got outplayed. Nothing more, nothing less. As far as Justin Steele goes, anybody that knows me knows what I do for a living. Let's lay down the panic mode for a while, guys. If it's tendonitis, it's one thing. I'd be more worried about it being inflammation than tendonitis, to be honest with you. He'll be fine, honestly. And him missing Dodgers and D-backs isn't the worst thing because that's who he struggles against. Y'all have a good one. Bye.
He is on top of it. Thank you.
Wait, I want to wait. Don't leave yet. I want to know what it was like sitting next to the hot dog people.
Man, that was creepy. That was creepy. Well, no, because I ate lunch with Cole Wright and everything for the first 3 innings, and we were in there talking to Michael Bush, AB, and stuff, and it was fine. And next thing we know, I look over, and these hot dog people are in there doing the same thing with a slice of pizza in the 1914 club. Like, it was creepy as all get out.
So they were just trying to get attention all day long.
Oh, 100% they were trying to get attention. But you guys have a good one. I'm off to L.A. tomorrow.
Have fun, brother.
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you for calling in. Well, that's a new development. I didn't need to know that they were. Whatever. The game was boring, so I guess we got to talk about something. That was the marquee approach today, anyway. Let's go to friend of the show, David, calling in. Your 30 seconds start now.
Hey guys, look, we had a clunker today. I could, when I saw the news of Justin going down, I was deflated. I can imagine the team was kind of deflated, which maybe reflected today's performance. But hey, 4 out of 6 out of homestand with 2 first place teams. Again, I'm going to take 2 out of 3 the rest of this month, all month long.
Yeah, it was a winning homestand. What more could you want, right? Kyle, you look like you had something.
No, I 100% agree with Dave.
We could have been 5-1, Sunday, but 4-2. Now we go to the West Coast. These guys will literally out. Maybe the bats, we had one clunker today. Maybe the bats can thaw out a little bit, So, I'm happy where the team is at. It'll be interesting to see how they approach Justin's next start. I think it will be Colin Ray and some piggybacks probably. But right, and it just means Ben Brown, my boy, has to step up. He's got to step up now.
Yeah, and thank you for the call, Dave. We're going to get to our series preview right this minute. So speaking of Ben
Thanks,
Brown.
Dave.
So before we end the show today, I just quick looked up the pitching matchup. So Friday night in Chavez Ravine, Matt Boyd versus Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Saturday night, Ben Brown versus Roki Sasaki. The Cubs have not announced their starter yet for Sunday, which would be the Justin Steele spot. So they are TBD. But the Dodgers on Sunday night will be throwing Tyler Glasnow. So it doesn't get any easier, folks. They get their 3 best punches. Is there anything specifically, Kyle, you're looking to see from this weekend?
Well, I think, again, we just continue to talk about the Cubs hitting teams at the right time. The Dodgers have lost the first 2 games against the Nationals, which is just pretty shocking to me.
No.
And Sasaki, though, has looked like he started to get comfortable. I think his last start, it was pretty decent. Tyler Glasnow, though, you get him just coming off the IL pitching for the first time in a long time. He didn't look so great his first start of the year. I believe it was his first start of the year last time. So, again, I just think if you can limit the damage against the Dodgers, but then again, the Cubs did a really good job against the Dodgers last year and won 4 out of 6. If they can just not get swept by the Dodgers, I would be okay with that, given the fact that you're going to be facing such a tough starting rotation. And you're kind of banged up now with Ben Brown, Matthew Boyd, and call it TBD on Sunday. You might be looking at, hey, it's our bottom 3 versus their top 3. And, you miss Snell, which is great. But I would be okay getting out of Dodger Stadium 1-2, and then going to San Diego and maybe evening it up and having a nice 3-3 road trip. That I would be really happy with that.
I think that would be a giant win. And weirdly, I don't know about you, I feel really good about Saturday. Sasaki's got nasty stuff, but he's still walking a ton of batters. So I kind of like that matchup in the Cubs' favor. I have no idea what to expect Sunday night with Glass now. I feel like that's going to be a game where we'll know pretty early how that's going to go. And then Friday night against Yamamoto, it feels like, and I don't have numbers to back this up, it feels like they always are competitive when facing Yamamoto. I know in Japan they were until they kind of just fell apart, but that was the entire Japan experience. But yeah, I think I'm with you. 1-2 sounds like a nice start, a safe guess. But yeah, but that just makes that San Diego series all the more important so they can stay afloat.
Yeah, I think Yamamoto's done pretty well against us, to be honest. But if they can come out 3-3 from this road trip, Kyle's gonna be happy.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there. So let's end the show there. For all that were in the comments, thank you. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and of course the little bell, so you know everything that the Setup Man Network is up to. Thank you for watching. Sorry we couldn't come with more exciting game notes or anything really from this game, but we head to the West Coast, so actually on Sunday night we'll have to talk about how we're going to do that because yeah, Sunday Night Baseball. But we'll talk about that off air, so we will get that
Late
information
one for you.
Yeah, because us Midwesterners, these West Coast trips are killer, man. I know that they can't like them playing, but watching them just woof. Anyway, I'm going to stop complaining in the show. For Kyle, I'm Alex. Thank you for watching, subscribing, liking, and we are going to go put our arms on ice. We will see you this weekend.